President Trump says he might be able to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, but his new strategy is telling both countries to end it themselves. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy left the meeting at the White House Friday without those Tomahawk cruise missiles he had hoped for. Yesterday, he appeared on Meet the Press and urged President Trump to get tougher on Russia. Listen to this.
Does President Trump need to get tougher with President Putin?
Yes, and even more, because Putin is something similar, but more strong than Hamas. It's more bigger war, and he is the second army in the world, and that's why more pressure.
All right, to have a little bit of further discussion on this, I want to bring in Ukrainian parliament member Halyna Yanchenko. She is joining us live from Kyiv to talk about this. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So as you know, the president is set to meet with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Budapest soon. Is there more pressure to negotiate a ceasefire on Putin after the president met with your president, Volodymyr Zelenskyy?
I believe that this meeting could be more successful if the negotiations, or it's better to say previous agreements about Tomahawk were implemented. But as we know, the result of the meeting is not as favorable as we expected. I should say that actually it's clear for everyone that majority of wars is finished by negotiations. But the result of negotiations, and generally even the desire to have these negotiations, can be reached only after aggressor understands that he is losing the war. Only after aggressor is being pushed. I believe that while Putin has started this war, he will continue fighting with Ukrainians. He will continue occupation. He will continue killing Ukrainian civilians if it's not him who will be under the pressure, but his victim, Ukraine. Therefore, I believe that the best investment U.S. can make in the global security is the investment in basically military assistance to Ukraine.
All right. So the President Trump says that Ukraine and Russia should try to end the war themselves. But it sounds like what you're saying is that's not possible if Russian President Vladimir Putin doesn't feel as if he is losing. And I mean losing in a traditional sense. There have been lives lost in Russia. Obviously, there have been thousands of casualties in Ukraine. But Vladimir Putin, as far as Zelenskyy is concerned, has not felt the pressure that you're describing that would require him to feel that he needs to sue for peace.
Exactly. Putin is trying to actually come up with some kind of additional ideas or additional actually criteria to start negotiation. But what we see, he's simply buying more time, and he invests this time in building new military and economic relations or partnerships with authoritarian regimes across the world. So we already saw how soldiers from North Korea were killing Ukrainians in this Russian-Ukrainian war. We've already seen a number of actually thousands of Iranian drones killing Ukrainians. And now we see Russian drones actually flying above the European cities, causing the airports to be shut and stuff like that. We also see how Russia cooperates with China and trying to build more military and economic partnerships with authoritarian regimes. So I believe that if military assistance to Ukraine, including long-range missiles like Tomahawks, were provided to Ukraine earlier, this war could be already finished.
So wait, Halyna, let me ask you to that point.
Was to press victim and not the aggressor, and we are losing time. And while the world is simply losing time, Ukrainians are losing people. Ukrainians are losing families. who are being killed during the night after Russian shellings.
So let me ask you really quickly with regards to that point about those Tomahawk cruise missiles. Is that the kind of pressure that you believe would cause Vladimir Putin to ultimately come to the negotiating table for peace? If the president of the United States, who is known to be a tough negotiator, if he were to say to your president, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, that he is agreeing to provide those crucial missiles that Zelenskyy says he needs to prosecute this war, to defend Ukraine, that would bring Vladimir Putin to the table, that you might not even have to launch those missiles if he simply knew that Ukraine had access to them.
Yeah, I believe so. Listen, actually, Putin was not going even to start negotiations during the first 6 months of the presidency of Donald Trump. But after Donald Trump has started to actually raising the issue of secondary sanctions, and it was in June and July, so basically this summer, Putin really quick decided to come to Alaska and start some talks and actually finding, some arguments or trying to actually play around. So it's very clear message that I want to deliver. And only language which is clear to Russians is the language of power. They don't understand the language of international legislation. They don't understand and don't even respect the diplomacy kind of things. The only thing they understand is power. So after President Trump has started to talk about secondary sanctions, basically breaking this partnership or this alliance of authoritarian regimes, Putin has decided to actually come to Alaska and start some negotiations. But to my mind, the meeting in Alaska was not successful in terms of diplomacy, because the next night Putin came back to Russia. He sent 700 Shaheds just the next night to kill Ukrainians. So it means that, in my opinion, Trump should and can be tougher in his attempts to finish the war. And the party he should press is the aggressor, not the victim.
Ukrainian Parliament member Halyna Yanchenko, thank you very much for your perspective, ma'am. We appreciate you appearing on our air. Thank you.
Thank you.